Hello, everyone. So I just want to share a short story with you. We had traveled to another city and we were having a day off resting. And on that day, we decided to hike up a little mountain. And as we're walking back and talking, there was one deaf man on a moped and he noticed us. He waved us down and said, "Hey, are you deaf?" We're like, "Yeah, we're deaf." And all of us were so shocked that we had met this deaf man. His name is Kiran. That's how you sign his name. So we were talking and exchanged numbers and decided that he would guide us. So the next day, he was guiding us. We were on the bus, talking, laughing, joking, just having a great time. But we didn't really have an opportunity to share the gospel. So we're like, "Oh, it's okay." Then he led us to a lake where there was another deaf man who works rowing the boats. We're like, "Oh, this is so perfect. We can share the good news with him." And so we divided into two boats. There was one boat with the deaf man who worked there, and then one boat where Kiran was. I was on the first boat with Kiran, and we were, as a team, just sharing the gospel with him, and we saw how he was so hungry for God's word and curious to hear more and more, and just asking for more stories from us. I could see the way God was pursuing Kiran. And then the rest of my team that was with the other deaf man working in the boat, they were talking and hanging out. It was interesting because before Kavlasha, one woman on my team, had prayed and God had shown her a picture that they would meet someone at a lake and with a boat, and then she also saw an oar. And so she thought, "This is perfect," and she shared it with that man. He thought it was interesting. And that deaf man, interestingly enough, knew some of God's word because another missionary had come before. I could see that God was clearly pursuing this man too. And it was really funny because the boat ride was supposed to be an hour, but it became 2 hours because the deaf man would be rowing, but then as he started to talk, he'd have to put the oar down to have a conversation. And so it just continued and doubled our time. But it was really incredible how he had all that time to share God's word. We could see that God was pursuing both of them, and how both of them were hungry to know more about God. And I thank God that Kiran and this other man that was working there, that we could share good news with them. Thank you for listening to my testimony.